Hello and welcome to the Brandon Racco podcast. I have with me today Suzan Peltekian. So she used to be a realtor and mortgage broker, and she has since moved on to coaching and helping people. Welcome, Suzan.
Brandon, thank you so much for having me, Doug. It's a pleasure to be here. How are you?
I'm great. You seem just energized with energy. You're just sparkling with energy here,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to speaking today because I've had coaches on before, and a lot of them have come from really, really dark places, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, and you're coming from, you know, realty. And this is just my initial impression. I tried not to spoil our interview. You know, they're
Yeah.
coming from like the deepest, darkest places and people with childhood traumas, and they're approaching normalcy. You know, that they want
Yes.
change for normalcy, or chronic pain to normalcy, and you
Yeah.
seem to be pushing from normalcy to excellence, to dreams. Is my impression correct, or?
Perception is everything. Thank you for asking. And there's a bit of both ends. So definitely, I believe good is the enemy of great, and I believe great is the enemy of excellent. And we are going for excellence for sure. Beyond epic, I teach life by design, the juiciest lives, and I believe we've all had some sort of trauma, and we'll take this conversation wherever you take it, Brandon. So I'm ready to serve.
Well,
But
well,
definitely supercharged. Yes.
yes. Maybe to serve my curiosity, how did you get into coaching? Like, how did that start?
Well, I love that you asked that because for whoever's listening in, there are never coincidences. I used to believe there are, Brandon. Everything happens by divine law, and all of these woo-woo stuff that I teach aren't woo-woo. They're actually backed up by neuroscience and quantum physics, which is fantastic. Although I don't teach that part, it is all backed up by that. This is all I've wanted to do. Of course, I didn't know what a coach was per se. I wanted to be a speaker and rah rah people and get on the world stages. And I never believed in myself. So that is a big part of my story. Like most don't because of self image. And I love you mentioned self
Mm-hmm.
image there on
Mm-hmm.
one of your great episodes that I was listening to, getting ready for us. And basically, you shift the inside, the outside must shift by law, and that's what I did. A lot of deep work, and here we are. It was one decision I made right before COVID hit us. We didn't know it was COVID in Toronto yet. January 2020, I cold turkey quit real estate. And then I attracted the number one REMAX real estate company worldwide that happened to be in my backyard, Canadian REMAX, Brandon,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
filled up all of my coaching spots. So I basically don't work a day in my life. This is not only my childhood dream, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and divine purpose. It's literally my life's devotion and dedication to our mankind. I believe everyone is a genius in their own way,
Mm-hmm.
and there is divinity with you. There's royal blood coursing literally through you, and I believe it's my life's work to bring this awareness to our planet so that you can unleash into the fullness of who God, the creator, whatever you want to call. I don't want anyone to be stopped by the words. I use the word interchangeably with Gus, universe, whatever works, to actually for you to know your own divinity and to unleash and live your best life. In a nutshell, that's the story.
And I love your choice of words, or your lack of choice of words, because we don't want to. I was talking to someone the other day about Alcoholics Anonymous, and Alcoholics Anonymous requires you to accept God, that you have to accept God. Well, that scares people away, and there are other. I guess it depends on the leader of the sessions, but it just can be a higher power, or it
Yes.
can be there are although in the states, you might get stuck with drunk driving, and okay, you have to take an AA. There are, if you ask for it, there are non AA sessions where it will
Yes.
go into the neuroscience instead.
Yeah.
It doesn't have
Yeah.
to. And it's all the same thing. It all comes down to beliefs, and it can be beliefs about yourself.
Yes.
It's all working with your mind. We can get into the
Yes.
neuroscience, but the mind is so incredibly powerful. It controls everything.
Yes. Literally.
Yeah.
Yes.
People feel, sometimes people feel, when people talk about subconscious, oh, that's woo woo stuff, subconscious, unconscious.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
subconscious. There's so much our brain does that we are not conscious of, right? um I feel like I'm stealing the show a little bit. Do you want to
No,
add to that?
no. I mean, where do I start with that? That is, thank you for sharing that, Brandon. That is literally 95 to 98% of our results are coming from the subconscious. So if we really want to start creating our lives by design, because let's not be mistaken, we're already creating it. We're super powerful manifestors. We're manifesting constantly and consistently. If we want to, not if, when we create by design, that means that we have actually now started using the subconscious for us instead of against us, because the
Hmm.
subconscious is
Hmm.
an awful, awful, awful master, but it's a beautiful servant.
Hmm.
And for whoever's listening in, if you have any doubts, just look at how you learned anything. Just reverse engineer. Steve Jobs has said we can only connect the dots looking backwards. How did we learn how to walk? How does a
Hmm.
baby learn how to talk? It's all through repetition, and that's the subconscious conditioning. How do we drive? If anyone still drives to the office, we get there and we don't know how we got there. We didn't even think about it. That's the subconscious. So the subconscious is beautiful. We want to condition it to work that beautifully for us, for the stuff we want to do. Get up and lace up and go for a walk, or lace up and go to the gym. Get up happy instead of, oh no, it's another day, or oh no, it's Monday tomorrow. And that is all conditioning. How did we learn how to, even ride a bike? We could have been five. At 65, we can still ride the bike, even if we had it our entire lives. At 105, we can still do it.
Hmm.
That's the power of the
Hmm.
subconscious.
Oh,
Uh,
there's still so much plasticity in it, and so much power in it. And I like your words again. Condition, train, because some people, when they think, oh, supercharge your life, manifest, some people think, oh, you're just saying, like, think happy thoughts, like pray, like, it's no, we have to train the subconscious. And maybe I'll
yes.
use a very physical example. And if and in the YouTube video, I'll put up a picture of a brain here, and we have a tiny brain behind our big brain called the cerebellum. So we have the cerebrum, where we do our more conscious thinking and our conscious activation of muscles. And we have the cerebellum, which sits underneath the brain. It's like, and it looks like a second little brain. And we have no conscious real control of this cerebellum. It controls sort of our muscle memory. It controls, like, if you're standing, are you consciously thinking
Wow.
about standing? No. We have a second brain that takes care of that. But that second brain, if it forgets how to do something, you can't just be, okay, brain, okay, second brain, just relearn how to balance. No, someone who's in a coma, they have to take weeks, months to relearn how to walk. They have to retrain that second brain, and it's hard because it doesn't. You want to, like, sit down with it and talk, but you can't talk. You can sort of talk to it directly, but it's a struggle. You have to say, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do, and eventually it starts to pick up. It's like you're training a toddler.
Yes. Yes.
And so
Yes. And it's still
yeah.
doing it. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go on.
So I train some people who perhaps have had a neuropathy or radiculopathy, nerve damage, and when the nerve is healed, they have to still, like, the brain might have forgotten how to control what that nerve was connected to, and they have to
Yeah.
go through this retraining, and it's tough.
Wow. What beautiful work you're doing. Thank you so much for that, doctor. That's fantastic.
But and this connects to this manifesting. Do you want to give sort of an example of some exercises and some thoughts, maybe?
Yes, actually, 100%. It's actually, we become what we think about predominantly. That also means we become what we believe, because our thoughts day in, day out become our beliefs, Brandon. So to start with, if right before you had hit record, and not to diminish anyone, I admire everyone bringing their zone of genius into our world. But I said we need more doctors like you who are doing lifestyle medicine, because I have not seen that many, and it was just such a joy to hear that you're practicing that. There, if your doctor believes in you, that's going to help. If the doctor in the white coat says no, you can't do it, and if we believe because they're quote unquote authority for us, right, then that's going to be a problem. So it all starts with what we believe, and for us to actually before that have that awareness to think, well, what are we thinking? And those thoughts day in day
Mm-hmm.
out are becoming our beliefs, and that's what we're attracting, because we're literally magnets, and like attracts like.
Mm-hmm.
From there, what is our inner speech? What is our outer speech? If we
Mm-hmm.
think it's tough, like you mentioned, and I'm not saying it's easy, okay? We don't wish that to anyone. We wish compassion and ultimate health for everyone. And we want to actually repeat that it's easy. We want to visualize. That's another one that top athletes that are,
Mm-hmm.
or anyone at the
Mm-hmm.
top of their game is winning big time. I invite all my clients, my or any precious soul listening in, to visualize and use, because we're already doing it, Brandon, but
Mm-hmm.
most of us are doing it in reverse. So all of these practices that I share, consider that we're all doing it. And I don't want to say all because I haven't met everyone on the planet yet. So let's not say all. Most of us are doing it, but in reverse. So
Mm-hmm.
we're actually imagining all day, every day, but the worst case scenario,
Yeah. Yeah.
or that how it's difficult, or how it can't be done, or how Brandon can do it but Amy can't. Instead of saying, wait a minute, this is what I want, which is, by the way, the first step of manifesting
Mm-hmm.
the lives that we want by design, is getting crystal clear on the vision.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, acting as if, and that's the self-image piece.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have the identity of a person who already has that health.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy for me to sit here and talk about perfect health when I'm feeling great versus, well, no, when one is feeling at their worst, whether it's minus in their account or minus in their health or minus in their love life, it's all one of the same. Everything is energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Everything we want is already here, right? And the simplest way I can explain is water going into becoming ice or vapor. It's just changing its form,
Yeah.
but right? So it's for us, as long as we can hold the vision of what we want in our mind's eye, we can hold it in our hands. That's a universal law.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to necessarily be the ideal perfect heaven, perfect picture of heaven on earth, because if you've I've noticed when I've tried to coach people, if you present them with that, they even close down hard. No, that's impossible. That's impossible. That's impossible. But your
Yes.
vision, some people, it's sometimes just open to the possibility. I can be someone who can take steps towards that. They've even closed
Yes.
themselves off to those possibilities,
Yes.
and there's no reason to. When
Uh, yes, there's no reason. And
oh
it all goes back
yeah,
to that childhood programming. I
yeah,
think we were 3, 4, or up until then, and before going to school, one minute we were doctors, the next minute we were astronauts. We were dreaming until we were mostly told a version of shut up and sit down at the corner.
yeah,
And then the lies started. And I call them lies. It's all the programming of
yeah,
who we're not, because who we are is literally limitless with what we have. I call it the biggest real estate, the one between our two ears.
yeah.
But how many of us, Brandon, wake up thinking that, let alone acting it? And how can we act as if we're limitless when we don't even believe we are? We think it's just positive thinking, if you will. Make sense?
And we are talking about relatively realistic goals, though we're not. I'm just thinking of the case of flying. No matter how much I try to manifest, is it working yet? Is it working? Although, if you imagine yourself as a bird, your body will feel lighter. We will feel lighter. You will be lighter on
Yes.
your feet. I used to do gymnastics and acrobatics, and
Oh,
we do
wow.
all these sorts of exercises and this mental imagery. And by golly, does it ever work? Obviously, you don't take off the floor, but you will jump 1 or 2 inches higher. You will.
Yes. Yes. 100%. It's incredible what we can achieve.
Mm-hmm. Um, Maybe it's also about I suppose framing too. for different people. Have you noticed that you sometimes have to frame things in very different ways to reach people?
Yes, yes, 100%. Because again, so many people think that this is woo woo or it's
Mm-hmm.
delusional. Meanwhile, it's we've been conditioned poorly. It's literally removing the conditioning, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not really becoming anyone new. I always call everyone Michelangelo's David. We're chipping away at the layers of who we're not to fully unleash who we are. And whatever that chipping away takes, for some, it may take a little longer because of their conditioning. We talked very briefly about trauma.
Mm.
From my work, I haven't seen someone who hasn't had it, but again, I haven't worked with everyone. And I love, without diminishing anyone's trauma, I love, I had learned that there's big T and small t. Big T could be something like sexual abuse and similar things like that. Smaller t could be something as little Johnny was at the cash register and he asked mommy for a chocolate bar and she yells and says no. And now he carries that shame with him because he was yelled at,
Mm.
at the cash register. So he keeps repeating, or he thinks all women are mean, and now it shows up in his love life. So trauma is trauma because it's for that 5 year old. Even though we've now outgrown that age, it's still something that our inner child is dealing with until we heal it. Because one of the biggest lies is that time heals all wounds. It doesn't. It's doing the inner work that heals.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling heals.
Mm-hmm.
And most aren't feeling. They're numbing. And you discuss that, and you're very aware of that. Or by abusing alcohol or anything in any form is numbing it, so it doesn't work. Or indulging in it and being in victim
You
consciousness
you have to
instead of
address it
who.
in some way.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We get to, yes.
Yeah. And it can be framed and approached in whatever way that works for you.
Yes, 100%.
We've talked about God. We talked about a higher power already.
Yes,
I've interviewed someone recently. Mind altering drugs, if that allows you to
yeah,
approach a place with comfort. Another individual, I think, quite recently, he frames it as talking to his past self. And
yes,
in some ways, you think, oh, he's just numbing it. He's trying to, because he's treating the past self as a different self. But that
yes,
is a way of addressing it and talking to yourself, talking to that person. Um, and
yes,
and
yes,
it's a way of bringing something into light, because me from yesterday is not the me of today, and the me of tomorrow is not the me of today. We're
yes,
different people. If I experience a minor trauma today, thinking about that trauma, thinking about, how bad is this? Is this going to affect me tomorrow in any meaningful way? Can help you address those thoughts, address those feelings.
yes,
So
100%.
yeah, and so thinking about different people could be a reframing device for someone.
Absolutely. Different modalities work differently for different people, as you mentioned. And one that works for one may not work for another,
Mm-hmm.
also. Or today it may work for someone and not tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I think whatever it takes to do the work, mostly what we get to do in our work, Brandon, is to actually think. Bob Proctor, before he passed away, he was in the movie The Secret. I don't know if you've heard of him. He was in the movie and the book The Secret. He passed
Mm-hmm.
away 3 years ago. One of my mentors, he has said, and this is from one of his mentors, and I see it, that only 2% of the population thinks, 3% think they think, and 95% would rather die than think. And that's what we actually work on every day, to stop and actually think. Because most of our thoughts aren't really ours. They reckon we have 60 to 70,000 a day. I don't know how true that is, but give or take, it's about that, right? But most of them are just going again back to the power of the subconscious on auto loop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what am I going to eat? Or what
Mm-hmm.
did he say? Or what did she say? Why did she do that? Versus, well, are we really generating new thoughts? Are we thinking newly? Are we creating new paradigms? Or
Mm-hmm.
versus the ones they gave us generationally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
from in our work, we start from the time you were conceived or you were born. We're not even looking back, but there's proof that has been happening generationally,
And I've
whether it's
noticed
trauma.
for some,
Yeah,
they'll replace one paradigm with another paradigm. And
similar.
sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, because sometimes it can be similar. And I'm thinking in particular of a beneficial paradigm that,
Yes.
well, there can be the extremely harmful paradigm. I'm thinking doctors who say, look, it's just arthritis. You're only going to get worse. Here's some pain pills. For the audience, if you haven't paid attention to some of my other material, read my book, or aren't up to date on the research, arthritis is rarely a cause of pain. The correlation between arthritis and pain is very weak. There is a correlation. It's very weak. There's a large percentage of people with arthritis with no symptoms, symptom free, and people diagnosed with arthritis sometimes a month later, a week later, don't have pain. But the arthritis is still there on X-rays. So, that's very harmful. See every time you're moving, things are grinding, only going to get worse. Those are very
Yes.
harmful thoughts. And I covered possibly a more beneficial thought is this paradigm. Well, there's a paradigm shift. Oh, your back needs to be adjusted, so you just need to come see the chiropractor every week the rest of your life. Very good for the chiropractor's pocketbook. If that makes you happy, okay, you're happy, chiropractor's happy. Um, but you
Yes.
have maybe a dependence, so maybe that's not the best. I'm thinking of another one, the vagus nerve, and
Yes.
people and the doctor convinces people to reframe their whole nervous system, how they feel in terms of the vagus nerve and breathing exercises. Oh, vagus nerve is connected to breathing, so I have to think vagus nerve, vagus nerve, vagus nerve. But your thoughts. So yes, the vagus nerve is connected to the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, rest, digest versus fight, flight. But so is your thoughts connected to fight, flight? It goes way
Thank you.
beyond. So I want to say to
Thank
people, expand beyond these paradigms, keep an open mind, because you might even be trapped by a paradigm you think might be helping you.
Yes.
And you want to keep
Yes.
a real open mind to reach your full potential.
I love that. I love that. My mentor would say all of disease, it's two words, it's lack of ease in the body, and it all starts with the mind. It's all thoughts. So what are paradigms? It's mental programming that is in our subconscious, repeated day in, day out. Those are become our beliefs. So if we can change our thoughts, we change our beliefs, we change our lives, we change the inside, the outside must transform. And if we could just adopt the paradigm that in our natural state, we are healthy, then that's what we will adopt. Again, easy for me to sit down and talk, but that is our natural state. And don't believe a word I say is what I would invite any precious, smart, intelligent listener to see is that most babies, if we look at them, they're born in the perfect vibration. Well, every baby's born in the perfect vibration, but health. And then they cry for a minute because they want milk. They go back to their happy state. That is our birthright. And yet most of us aren't happy most of the time. We're stressed, we're anxious, but it's really not because we are supposed to be anxious and stressed that real life has happened. We're working now. It's because of our thoughts. And that's how powerful we are. If we can just change our thoughts, we can literally create heaven on earth, Brandon. And this is available to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Now, in case some people find that a little bit too woo woo,
Yeah.
we'll,
Yes.
we'll, we'll take that back down to the science. And I heard of a pretty negative story of a preacher who was
Mm-hmm.
basically selling healing. Not that again, faith can be so beneficial to healing, but he was basically
Mm-hmm.
selling healing.
Oui.
If the more you donate, the more it proves you believe in God, and He's going to help you heal you. Um, and when people weren't healed, well, you know what? You just didn't believe hard enough. You weren't healed of cancer, or your missing limb didn't grow back. Like real impossible things are sometimes more sort of impossible. There are people whose bodies all of a sudden decide to cure cancer. They don't know how it happens. We have evidence, real, concrete, hard evidence. Someone
Yes. Yeah.
believes that they're full of energy, and you look at the markers, their blood markers, and their immune system is working overtime. And all they did was
Yes.
have to believe in themselves. All they did was do a coaching session, just thinking different, and their immune system kicked into gear. So thoughts have such a huge impact on all the chemical messengers in the body, and how the brain
Hmm.
responds to things, and even cancer.
Yes.
People
Yes.
who have positive outlooks do live longer. Their cancer is more likely to go into remission. It's not 100% chance. And if thinking it isn't going to make you fly, but it's going to make you feel lighter, it's going to let you jump higher. It improves your chance of beating cancer. It improves your chance of getting healthy. It improves your chance of putting your diabetes into remission, into losing weight. There's so much that you can do.
And most.
Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
Mhm. No, no, thank you. And living your best life today instead of
Yes.
right, regardless. So just thinking positively overall will have so many different benefits other than healing. So that is fantastic. Thank you, Brandon.
And I have one more concrete example because we're going real big picture, and training. So some
Yeah,
of these things take a lot of work. I recommend Psycho-Cybernetics. The audiobook is free
love,
on YouTube. Fantastic book. Even if you just
YouTube.
listen to the
I
first
love
hour.
that. My, that's my favorite book. Sorry, I love it. I love that you mentioned it. Absolutely. And there are so many examples of how people use the power of their mind
Hmm.
to create, whether
Hmm.
athletes or, yeah, yes,
And for some things it was a lot of training, but some things it comes so easily. And a very recent example, just last week, I got a little sick, ate some bad food, not feeling good,
oh,
feeling low energy. Of course, that happens. But you know, I went into to the next day, and I'm like, I hope, I hope I'm recovering. But our brain existed for survival. It's always thinking of the worst. It's not thinking for thriving, for happiness. It didn't evolve for happiness. It evolved for survival. So no wonder it thinks the worst case scenario. But I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm
yes,
probably going to be tired today. Maybe I'll try to have a nap here and that. And I realized I was interviewing someone, and I realized in the interview,
yes.
holy shoot, I am I I am my own enemy here. There's no signs of illness today. Why am I thinking I'm
Thank
going to be fatigued today? Why?
Yes,
And I had the
yes.
rest of the evening. I was so full of energy, and I worked out
Oh,
and spent the evening with my wife and baby, and I was roughly hopping off the walls, full of energy. And it was I was all set for being a bump on a log.
and see how deep the programming goes, eh?
Yeah.
Um, ah,
Well, and in that case, it's almost shallow because it was so easy. I used to keep a very dirty counter. That was a lot of programming to fix that habit. I struggled with
used
that
to is
one.
the key word.
Yeah,
Well, it's done now.
yeah,
You put it in the past tense, so I love that.
yeah,
I'm sure that makes the wife happier too.
yeah. Although
That's
although
fantastic.
it has changed, and now I can't stand a dirty counter. So
So you really have a paradigm shift.
yeah. Well, before I was someone who, it's a waste of time to clean dishes all the time. That's a waste of time, waste of time. And so, of
Yes,
course, it felt like so much work to clean things. It was just
yes,
a chore. And then I changed my thinking. I am someone who keeps a clean counter. That is who I am. I am someone who keeps a clean counter. And you know what? If I see something like a sink full of dishes, it bothers me now. It didn't bother me before. Now I get annoyed. I get angry. And
wow.
it's clean before I know it. Because my body gives me the energy to fix the problem, because my brain now treats it as a problem. I have to solve this now.
Well, identity is everything. That's a perfect example you gave there, Brandon. That's fantastic. Change your identity. That's the inside. The outside will change as within, so without. That's just fantastic example, really, of a kitchen counter situation, but it really can be applied to anything.
Maybe I'll give, because I understand that like a lot of your clients are in realty and maybe high powered professionals. Maybe could you give
Yes.
an example of how they've been able to make changes, perhaps?
Can give multiple examples. Absolutely. So the average person has 4x their income within months of working with me. Some haven't. Some have doubled. Some have tripled. Some have 5x. Some have turned their yearly into their monthly, Brandon. But most importantly, what I teach through the law of attraction is Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Mm.
Again, as we shift, everything else shifts. So I don't teach a thing. You become a parent, congrats. A thing on parenthood. Parents come to me happier about, getting along with, in their words, troubled teenagers, right? Juicier marriages, juicier lives by design, building world-class businesses. They're not just real estate agents anymore. They're literally creating world-class businesses worldwide, becoming in politics, everyone, one person's nickname in there, he's my friend, he's been an original client, is 180 because he literally did a 180, Brandon. Everyone's done a 180. Ever since I nicknamed him 180, we've seen everyone has just shifted from the inside because whenever you shift from the inside, that's it. Everything on the outside shifts. So their lives have become juicier marriages, but also conscious uncoupling because it's not always about
Hmm.
staying if it doesn't work,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
it's really living lives of freedom and ease and joy and that heaven on earth that some may not believe in, that is literally available to anyone who is willing to be curious and do the inner work to unleash it, because that place is in our mind, whatever it is, and whatever we can see here we must feel on the outside or live. Yeah.
And you brought it to the external, and
Yes.
and it can multiply. So you're
Oh,
feeling better, and that externalizes and affects the outside world, and you make better social connections, and positive social
yes.
connections can you make you feel better. And of course
Yes.
I'm taking it just to the general personal relationships,
Yes.
but of course it can send to business relationships, how you manage your team, how you manage your business, and it can set you
Every
on this positive spiral, whereas negative thoughts can send you on a negative spiral.
Yes, unfortunately. Yes,
Yeah.
it works the same. Either way, it's working.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Oh,
metacognition, realizing your thoughts, thinking about how you're thinking, and you can do a simple mental exercise, if you're to our listeners today. You can address, you can pick. There's different places you can start. You can place with a result or a feeling or an action or a thought, and you can see how that affects other things. So this is how I feel. Why do I feel that way? What thought is leading me to feel this way? Or what action led me to feel this way? And so you can start to sort of dive into, because if you don't address it, if you don't find it and think about it, you can't start to address it and start to communicate with your subconscious or try to reprogram that subconscious and into bringing you the benefits. Again, it worked to work for you, right?
yes. 100. Yes, yes. 100%.
So I'm thinking we might start to wind up now. Do you have maybe a
Sure.
closing message for the audience?
Well, thank you for having me, Brandon. I would invite everyone to know their divinity, that there's
Mm.
literally, this isn't positive thinking. It's very distinct. It's right thinking, and that there is royal blood coursing through every vein in you, and for you to actually realize your divinity. And
Mm.
that is not only our duty, it's our job. And quite frankly, it's our responsibility, not only to ourselves to break the generational patterns of the past and the future for our children, but for our one world and to ourselves. I mean, I love how you said that about being happy, how it ripple effects and vice versa. This being happy in the law of attraction is the number one thing we can be, because truly that's what we radiate out and that's what we get, but that's also what we keep giving, and the ripple effect, we don't know where it goes. So it really is our duty, and it's not, slapping lipstick on a pig. It's not toxic positivity the way I used to be. It's truly knowing who we are and doing the inner work to heal ourselves, so that, which is through feeling, so that we can live, our lives by design versus by default, and create it, um, by being the co-authors. We are the co-authors, but by design, consciously is the word I'm looking for, versus subconsciously.
Perfect. By design. Live your life by design. I love that.
Yes.
So I
Thank you.
understand people can learn more at superchargedwithsusan.com.
Superchargewithsusan.com is my website. Supercharge with Susan is my handle at IG, at Facebook. Uh, any way we could serve our awesome audience, I'm at your service. I'd be delighted to be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's my joy. Thank you, Brandon, so much for having me.